Secretary Rubio, it's great to see you here today. Very proud of what you're doing in your role. Grateful to call you a friend and to watch what you're doing now around the world with working on implementing the president's agenda. Secretary Rubio, I want to talk about energy for a moment. Our allies in Europe are waking up to the security and economic threats posed by their reliance on Russian energy. Despite some progress, many of our European partners still are hesitant to diversify their energy portfolio, energy sources, and ensure they can literally keep the lights on. This recent nationwide power outage in Spain provided a timely reminder that intermittent sources of energy cannot replace reliable baseload power that comes from fossil fuels or other steady sources. So despite their acknowledgement of this threat, Europe is still making it very difficult for energy companies to do business on the continent. In fact, the European Commission promulgated regulations in the last year regarding ESG due diligence and methane emissions that will soon make it all but impossible due to these reporting requirements for major gas exporters to do business in Europe. Secretary Rubio, how can you work with our partners in Europe to build a more reasonable, broader, more diverse energy trade and regulatory framework that allows companies to deliver power that Europe so badly needs?
Well, obviously, when you talk about the European Union and these individual countries, they have a degree of sovereignty. They'll have to make these decisions. We can certainly, in our conversations with them, remind them of the vulnerability of their energy grid. It is, I think, everyone's consensus belief that one of the factors that went into Vladimir Putin's decision to invade Ukraine is his belief that Europe was so dependent on him for energy that they would do nothing about it if he did it. And that turned out to be the case. Now you've seen some countries moving faster than others to diversify. For example, I believe on Saturday was the first delivery of U.S. LNG to Italy. They've opened up a terminal now to accept it. There are other countries that are looking. But obviously, these things take time. But I think the case in point, if in fact that's what led to the collapse of the grid, and there was, by the way, a collapse today in their telecom system as well in Spain, is a reminder of the vulnerability of energy. The vulnerability for purposes of just conducting 21st century commerce and economics, but also vulnerability potentially to being used as a geopolitical weapon against you. So I sense that among many of our allies in Europe, particularly those on the eastern flank, there is a growing, and I would say not just awareness, but a growing fear of how vulnerable they are on energy, both to foreign actors and because of the strains that are going to be placed by AI and other new technologies on our energy grid in the years to come.
Secretary Rubio, I want to shift gears for a moment and come back to a part of the world that doesn't get a lot of attention, but very strategically important, that's Central Asia. Think about Central Asia, the 5 countries, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan. When they wake up in the morning, they look north, they see Russia. They look to the east, they see China. They look south to Afghanistan. They look south and west to Iran. There is great potential that I don't believe is being utilized. An example of that is the lack of a trans-Caspian pipeline. You've got these 5 Central Asian countries, the Caspian Sea. 20 miles is all that's needed right now for an interconnector to basically connect Turkmenistan into Azerbaijan and then into the network the gas line pipeline, certainly throughout Europe. It's just 20 miles for that interconnector. Turkmenistan has the 5th largest reserves of natural gas in the world. Huge potential, and obviously with their neighbors of China and Russia and Iran, getting that gas out is a challenge, but there's a path forward through the Caspian Sea. Mr. Secretary, do you believe that completing that 20-mile Caspian interconnector would be in the best interest of the United States and our allies?
I think the answer is yes. That's what you're saying. I mean, it sounds to me that way from what you've described. I can't say I'm an expert on those 20 miles, but I could certainly see from your argument, the way you put it forward, that it makes all the sense in the world. And it reminds me once again, of why we want so much of our foreign policy to be driven at the regional and embassy level. Those are exactly the kinds of opportunities that in a different context, where how we were conducting energy policy would be lost, those are exactly the kind of opportunities that would be driven from the bottom up. Ideally, we would have embassies, and we would have individuals in the bureaus that would identify these operations, and within that bureau be able to operationalize it by conducting energy diplomacy. Potentially, are there American companies or allied companies? I apologize. Are there American companies or allied companies that can contribute to that effort? That can help us to fill that gap and provide the contracting work needed.
Yeah, you know, and Secretary, what's fascinating is when you engage those countries, and I was the first U.S. Senator to be in Turkmenistan and Tajikistan in 13 years when I went over there last November.
As you can see, energy is a very emotional thing to me.
It is, Mark. I get choked up, too, thinking about it. But they talk about multi-vector diplomacy over there because you've got the Russians and the Chinese who are actively engaged right now, and I think there's a bit of a vacuum as relates to the United States, and we can help fill that vacuum because they want to work with us. They were thrilled with this election in November. I spoke with every one of the Central Asian presidents, each one of them, one-on-one meetings. They were very pleased to see the outcome in November, and now they're ready to move forward here with a close relation to the United States, and I think Azerbaijan and that interconnector could be, as they say, that is the cork on the wine bottle of Central Asia that could actually unleash some of this energy and move it towards allies and friends of the United States instead of being dependent on Russia and China. By the way, they've been a very valuable ally in the global war on terror as well. There's a counterterrorism mission here as well. I would just throw out in terms of your radar, because you've got a lot on your plate right now, Mr. Secretary, but I think we could encourage the modernization of trade relations in that part of the world where there's, frankly, a lot of great power competition going on. But anyway, Mr. Secretary, it's good to see you up here. Godspeed, and thanks for all you're doing for our country.
Thank you. Thank you.